This is Brendan with Cusack Prep, and in this video we're going to be discussing how to find the domain of radical functions. Now, a radical function is just something with a square root in it. So let's say we had something like the square root of 2x plus 3, or maybe we had something like the square root of 5 minus x. These would be examples of radical functions. Now, with radical functions, the key thing to remember is that you just have to set what's inside of the radical to be greater than or equal to 0. So for example, we could set 2x plus 3 to be greater than or equal to 0. Subtracting 3 over to this side, I would have 2x is greater than or equal to negative 3. And dividing both sides by 2, I would find x is greater than or equal to negative 3 over 2. So what I can do here is put a bracket. And in that bracket, I put negative 3 over 2 and then infinity. Now, the reason there's a bracket here is because it includes negative 3 over 2. That's the equal part of the greater than or equal to sign. And because we're going from negative 3 over 2 all the way up to infinity, we're showing that it's greater than negative 3 over 2. For this problem here, I could do something similar. I could say 5 minus x is greater than or equal to 0. I subtract 5, and I find negative x is greater than or equal to 5, negative 5. And then I divide both sides by negative 1, and I would find x is less than or equal to 5. Now, notice I flipped the sign. You have to do that anytime you're multiplying or dividing by a negative value. So if x is less than or equal to 5, this could be the case where we're going from negative infinity to 5, including 5. So I put a bracket around 5. Now, we could even have something that's a little bit more complicated, where what's inside isn't super straightforward, but maybe we're dealing with a quadratic or something like that. So let's say inside of the square root, we had 2x squared, make these numbers up really quick, minus 5, and then maybe we had plus 3x in here. So this is a little bit more tricky, because what we have to do now is set this 2x squared plus 3x minus 5 to be greater than or equal to 0. Well, there's a lot of rules when we start getting into quadratics and inequalities. Rather than memorizing those rules, though, we're going to use a number line to help us solve this. So for starters, I'm just going to pretend that this is an equal sign. I'm going to ignore that. And I'm going to factor this 2x squared plus 3x minus 5. Now, when I factor this, I'm going to have 2x in x. I'm going to have minus 1 here. And I'm going to have plus 5 right here. So 2x squared plus 5x minus 2x minus 5. So that's going to work. And for now, I'm just going to say that that's greater than or equal to 0. Well, let's think about the case where this is going to be equal to 0. It's going to be equal to 0 anywhere where either one of these equals 0. So that's going to give us x equals negative 5 over 2, as well as x is equal to 1. So to help me figure out where it's greater than that, I'm going to draw a number line. So I'm going to do that right here. And on that number line, I'm going to put 1, and I'm going to put negative 5 over 2. Now, I need to evaluate where this is greater than or equal to 0 by plugging in numbers in between these two values and to either side. So I'm going to start by plugging in a number right in the middle. I'm going to plug in 0. If I plug in 0 to the original equation, this term becomes 0, this becomes 0, and then minus 5 is going to be negative 5. Now, negative 5, well, that's not greater than or equal to 0. So I'm going to go ahead and put an x in this region here. Now, if I put negative 3 in, which is less than negative 5 over 2, I'll write this out. So it's going to be 2 times negative 3 squared plus 3 times negative 3, got ahead of myself there, minus 5. So that's 9 times 2 is 18, minus 9 minus 5 is going to be 4. And 4 is greater than or equal to 0, so I'm going to put a check mark in this region. Next, I'm going to go ahead and put the number 2 in. So if I put 2 in, for x, I'm going to have 2 times 2 squared plus 3 times 2 minus 5. 2 squared is 4, times 2 is 8, plus 6 minus 5. Well, that's going to give me 14 minus 5, that's going to be 9, which is definitely greater than or equal to 0. So I'm going to go ahead and put a check mark in this region. So now we can see where this inequality holds is anywhere from negative infinity up until we reach negative 5 over 2, including negative 5 over 2. And then it skips this whole space in here. It doesn't work in that region. But it's true again once we get to 1 as we go all the way up to infinity. And that's how you can figure out the domain of radical equations. Thank you for watching. Hope you found this video helpful.